Now, my friend RC Sproul is part theologian and part philosopher. And I appreciate him for his theology, but I really appreciate him for his philosophy. He is actually a funny philosopher because he can make people look so foolish that you can hardly help but chuckle. Now, Sproul says there are only 4 options for the origin of the universe. You only have 4. Option number 1, the universe is an illusion. It doesn't exist. That's option number 1. Option number 2, it is self-created. Option number 3, it is self-existent and eternal. Option number 4, it was created by someone who is self-existent. Sproul says there aren't any other options. Either it doesn't exist, or it created itself, or it always existed, or somebody created it. That's it. He says, I have puzzled over this for decades and sought the counsel of philosophers, theologians, and scientists. I have been unable to locate any other theoretical options that cannot be subsumed under these 4 options. That's all you've got. Then Sproul says, option number 1 must be eliminated for 2 reasons. That's the option that says it doesn't exist. It's all an illusion. First, if it's a false illusion, then it isn't an illusion. If it's a true illusion, then someone or something must be existing to have that illusion. If this is the case, then that which is having the illusion must either be self-created, self-existent, or caused by someone ultimately self-existent. So therefore, everything is not an illusion. Secondly, he says, you can eliminate number 1, the illusion theory, because if we assume the illusion is absolute, that is, nothing does exist, including that which is having the illusion, then there is no question of origins even to answer, because literally nothing exists. But if something exists, then whatever exists must either be self-created, self-existent, or created by someone who is self-existent. Let's look at option 2, that the universe created itself. Well, this is by all logic formally false. It is contradictory and logically impossible. Sproul says, in essence, self-creation requires the existence of something before it exists. You get that? You can't create yourself unless you exist to create yourself. Self-creation is a logical and rational impossibility, he writes. For something to create itself, it must be before it is. This is impossible. It's impossible for solids, liquids, and gases. It's impossible for atoms and subatomic particles. It is impossible for light. It is impossible for heat. It is impossible for God. Nothing, anywhere, anytime can create itself, because if it could, it would have to exist before it created itself. Sproul points out that an entity can be self-existent and not violate logic, but it can't be self-created. When scientists say that, well, 15 to 20 billion years ago, the universe created itself, what are they saying? They're saying nothing exploded into something. That is a logical impossibility. To retain a theory of self-creation is totally irrational and rejects all logic. Such a theory can be believed, but it can't be argued reasonably. And you've got option number 3, that the universe as it exists, as we know it, has always existed eternally. Well, that doesn't fly. You're not eternal, and neither am I. We didn't always exist. There was a time when we didn't exist. There was a time when our children didn't exist. There are all kinds of things in this world that once did not exist. In fact, everything around us once did not exist. How could the universe exist forever and then do in time, i.e. create life, what it had never done forever? If the universe always existed, then everything in it always existed. And we know everything in it didn't always exist because you and I didn't always exist. Our parents will verify that. You cannot be born and be always existing. Cars and watches and chairs and all that were brought into existence at some point in time. Option 1, option 2, option 3 are impossible. We're left with only one possibility. The universe exists because it was created by someone who existed before it existed. A pre-existing, intelligent power, namely God. Matter can't create itself. Only an eternal, pre-existing God could create. I was